Okay, let's start the session. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back from the coffee break, and please take your seats as we are about to start. This section is the second section of the day. That's the plenary section 2A. That's the part A. And we have 5 presenters and a 4-panel discussion, member panel discussion. And the topic on this discussion will be on transforming capacities of public institutions for future governance. Now I would like to take this opportunity to introduce to you the moderator for this section. The moderator for this section is Ms. Stefania Sinese, Governance and Public Administration Officer, DPIDG, UN DESA. Shall we all welcome her with a big round of applause?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me? Welcome to Plenary Session 2, Part A, on effective public institutions and digital government for advancing the Sustainable Development Goals. Digital government and frontier technology can play a pivotal role in achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. As the Secretary General said, frontier technologies can present a very important opportunity for the 2030 agenda. They indeed can make sustainable development a reality, improving the lives of citizens and also promoting prosperity and protecting the planet. Digital government frontier technology can indeed enhance the effectiveness of the delivery of key services such as health, food and water, education, decent work, social protection, and environment. But they can render technical means and platform to foster inclusion and participation of citizens and ensure that no one is left behind. However, we all know that the rapid technological change also can introduce a particular challenge for all governments. And in many countries, we need to recognize that the development of digital government and frontier technology outpaces the readiness of public institutions that can effectively leverage them. So we need to actually equip public institutions with capacity and skills to fully harness the opportunity of digital governments and frontier technologies and address potential challenges and side effects. So, ladies and gentlemen, this plenary session aims to discuss how digital government and frontier technology can contribute to implementing the Sustainable Development Goals by introducing good country practices from the region. It will also address important policy considerations in designing and implementing the digital government strategy and policy for managing frontier technologies with regard to citizen engagement, multi-stakeholder collaboration, and digital divide. Finally, the plenary session will also examine what are the new competencies needed by public institutions in response to the advancement of digital government and frontier technologies, and how capacity gaps in many developing countries can be addressed. The session is composed of 3 main parts. The first part is on the e-government survey. The second part will be on frontier technologies for the SDGs and enabling government for digital transformation. And the last part, instead, we'll have a panel discussion with 4 representatives of schools of public administration for Asian and Pacific region. So now I would like to invite the first speaker, Mr. Kepi Yao, Governance and Public Administration Expert of UNPOG, DPIDG of UN DESA. Mr. Yao will introduce the UN e-Government Survey 2018, Gearing e-Government to Support Transformation Towards Sustainable and Resilient Cities. Mr. Yao, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. It's my great pleasure to introduce to you the 2018 e-government survey, UN e-government survey. So the UN e-government survey is a publication that produced by the Division for Public Institutions and Digital Government every 2 years. So this year, 2018 survey, it's kind of 10th edition of the survey. And also, it's the only e-government survey that assesses the e-government development of all UN member states. It covers 193 countries. It's a very kind of comprehensive. And also, this e-government survey assesses the e-government development from 3 dimensions. We have this kind of questionnaire to assess online services. And also, we also assess the ICT infrastructure. And also, we also look at the human capacity, so see how the people, their capacity to use the online services. And also, many governments and also academia and also private sector, they use the UN e-government survey as a benchmark tool to measure the e-government development across the regions. Yeah. And also, what's the new feature of this year, of this 2018 e-government survey? 2018 e-government survey, it's kind of a very close link to the core principles of 23rd agenda. And also the theme is in alignment with the 2018 high-level political forum. And also the overarching theme, if you can see, it's kind of exactly almost the same of the 2018 overarching theme of a high-level political forum. And also we take a look at the 5 dimensions of SDG 16, basically about accountability, inclusiveness, and openness, and trustworthy. Yeah. And also this year we have introduced 2 new factors. One is that we look at the local digital government services. I mean, how we pilot with 40 cities and to see how the digital government services at a local level. And also, we also check those kind of front technologies, the impact of these front technologies for the government service delivery. Now, so the main feature of the UN e-government survey, first one is about leaving no one behind. So, because the e-government services should be available to all. But now there's a tendency that those kind of left behind, those kind of digital excluded people can be the further left behind because this kind of many governments adopt the digital default approach. So we should take into consideration of this possible potential risks that those kind of digital excluded groups, maybe they can be further left behind. And also, the e-government could be a very useful tool to better anticipate and respond to disasters. It has widely recognized that ICT can be used as a very effective tools for the disaster reduction in all the stages of the disasters, from the prevention, education, and implementation, and also the recovery. And also another important issue is about cybersecurity, especially how to strengthen and building the e-resilience for the service continuity. So that raises the importance of to keep the resilience of the key ICT infrastructure itself. And also, I just mentioned that about how to ensure that the local governments, they can also take advantage of the new technologies to better serve their citizens and also better engage with their citizens. Yeah. So actually, our pilot survey of the 40 cities find out that the digital government service at the local level is far behind. There should be. And also far behind what the citizens expect them to be. And also, this survey, we checked how the impact of this kind of a new technology, especially the artificial intelligence, like blockchains, how they can provide the good chances, good opportunities, potentials for improve the better service delivery and better engage with citizens. But meanwhile, we should also look at those kind of some potential risks. The 2018 survey focused on those kind of essential services the government can provide, and also with such kind of thematic topics on open data, e-participation, mobile government, digital divide, usage, and whole of government integration. And also, as I just said, that the online service index, we look at the 5 dimensions of the SDG 16. And also, we check this kind of leading or emerging technologies of this front technology, what's the impact, and how they can improve the government services and also a better interaction between government and other stakeholders. And also, although many countries, they have improved a lot in their e-government development because they invest a lot in the ICT infrastructure, and also they have a good strategy in the digital government. But on a regional basis, there's a still large kind of digital and e-government divide between different regions. Yeah. From this chart, you can see that Europe is leading all the regions. But meanwhile, the Africa countries is very far lagging behind. So only out of 50 countries in Africa, only 4 of them are above the world average. All other countries are lagging behind. And also, we have 14 least developed countries. They're also at the bottom of the global e-government index ranking. And also, here we have the global leaders in the global ranking. Then the Republic of Korea is number 3. Yeah. So if you can see, okay, if you can see that all those kind of countries that are leading the world, basically the top 10 or top 20 are those countries with a good ICT infrastructure and also good service delivery. And also on the region, on this Asia region, you can see that the e-government development is quite diverse. Yeah? We have Korea, Singapore, Japan, they're quite leading. And meanwhile, we have a bunch of LDC countries, they're far lagging behind. And also, if you look at those kind of countries in special situations, for those countries like the LDCs, the group of countries, LDCs, landlocked developing countries, and also CIS countries. So you can see that all these kind of LDC countries, they are almost at the lower bottom of the global ranking. But LDCs, those countries, especially in Central Asia countries, for example, the Kazakhstan, they are quite moving very aggressively in recent years. So they are doing quite good with a very high EGDI. Yeah. So although, from the perspective of the global ranking, they are lag behind, but doesn't mean that the government they cannot do much to better serve their citizens. I pick up some cases that are included in the UN e-government survey. There are some innovative initiatives. For example, about a digital Bangladesh by 2021, and also Singapore, they have a Smart Nation initiative. And also we have Kazakhstan about 2020. So we have our colleague from UNDP Astana Civil Service Hub. They can introduce more about Kazakhstan. Also one colleague from Prime Minister's Office of Kazakhstan. They can introduce the Kazakhstan experience. Some general summary of the challenges and a recommendation of e-government development. First one is about challenge that always the political leadership and the vision is very important. Second one is about the ICT infrastructure. Many countries, they are still lagging behind. Also lack of investment in the ICT infrastructure. The third one is about cyber security. This problem now become more and more important for many countries. if the country, if they lack of a strong and a resilient infrastructure, they can create a problem that can cause the discontinuity of online government services. And also, many countries are lacking of the rigid or robust data governance. So it also causes a lot of problem because we know that the digital innovation or government innovation in many cases are data-driven. So how to protect the data privacy and data security and become high concerns of many countries. And also many countries still lag behind in the setting the laws and regulations to adapt to the new challenges. But the Europe recently, they have the GDPR, the regulations, so they also have a very kind of far-reaching impact in this area. And also this question I also just mentioned about digital divide, because now more and more governments, they implement a digital first approach. So those kind of marginalized group or digital lag behind people, they may have a risk to be further left behind. And also government should also know how to better adapt to the frontier knowledge through the legal and ethical framework. And also, many government officials still lack in digital skills. Many people, they don't know how to access the government services. So in relation to the challenges, for the policy recommendations, we should have like strong leadership and political commitment to digital strategy. The government should work together with the government, with other citizens and private sector to co-create new services, to think about how to take feedback or comments from citizens to better improve their services. And also, we should further improve the capacity or digital skills of the government officials, especially lower-level government officials. And also, cybersecurity is a big issue for many developing countries. They have no experience to handle or address the concerns of these risks that are caused by new technology. And also, the government should further do some promotion of the digital government services to their citizens. And of course, the digital government development, it could be countries can share their good experience to see how to better improve the digital government. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kapin, for this very comprehensive presentation. Now, we open the second part of the plenary session that actually will be composed of 4 presentations on the topic of frontier technologies for the SDGs and enabling government for a digital transformation. The presentation will demonstrate how the digital government and frontier technology can be leveraged for achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. It will address how digital government and frontier technologies can foster an enabling environment for digital transformation in the public sector. And finally, it will introduce 3 country cases of China, Republic of Korea, and Bangladesh in implementing digital government and frontier technology to strengthen effectiveness and inclusiveness of public service delivery and promote inclusive participation in decision-making process. Now it's my pleasure to invite our next speaker, Mr. Professor Aung Mong Song. He is Professor Emeritus of the Department of Public Administration of the Korea University. He will actually, in his presentation, address several questions. How can digital government frontier technology foster an enabling environment for digital transformation? The second one is, how can digital government and frontier technologies contribute to building effective, inclusive, and accountable public institutions? And the last one, how can the vision and strategy of digital governance be adapted to rise of frontier technology? Professor, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sands, for your kind introduction to me. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and distinguished guests. My name is Moon-seok An. An is my family name. And I'm Professor Emeritus of Korea University, and currently I am co-chairing the e-government promotion committee of the Ministry of Public Administration and Safety, co-chair with Minister of Public Administration and Safety. It's my great honor and pleasure to be here and to meet you and to share the opinion on this topic. I'd like to begin my presentation from the question that, as Ms. Sands asked me, what are the frontier technology, first, and second, what is the role of the frontier technology, second, and third, can frontier technologies solve of the sustainable development goal? And finally, and what is the relationship between frontier technology and digital government? 여기서 눌러야 안 될까? 여기로? I define the frontier technology as the technology, innovative technology that change the world in the irreversible way. Irreversible way. The point is irreversible way. So if we enter into a certain stage, and you cannot go back to the previous stage. Historically, there were 4 industrial revolutions triggered by the frontier technologies. The first frontier technology was a steam engine, and the second frontier technology was electricity, and third one was computer and internet, and the fourth, artificial intelligence, IoT, big data, etc., etc. Then why is the frontier technology important? Because history teaches us frontier technology creates new living space for us, for human beings. And the frontier technology creates new demand from people. And most of all, frontier technology creates new problems. And that new problem and demand create a new society, and new society pushed the new governance, and new governance pulled a new government. And I'll quickly review that the first and second industrial revolution, the steam engine, electricity as a frontier technology produced a city as a living system, and the industrial society was born. And the goal of governance was to growth-oriented national development to maximize GNP. An ideal type of government was bureaucracy. And the third industrial revolution, as we know that frontier technologies, computer and in internet, and the cyberspace appeared, and it became the living space. And we know that information society was born. And the goal of governance was to make nations to transform from body nation to brain nation. And the ideal type of government was e-government. And in the whole process, that we know that we have government reform. Without government reform, the old style law and regulation cannot solve all those problems, even though the technologies are available. And Mr. Sun, if you permit me, then I will. She told me that 1 minute left, when it's not possible to finish it. Okay, you granted me 10 minutes. Okay, I don't think that I already consumed the 10 minutes. So there is something wrong there. Okay, all right. Okay, as I'll continue. Thank you very much. Okay, and the frontier technologies increase the well-being of people, as you know that. But however, at the same time, that frontier technology produces new difficult problems. And the problem solving became the responsibility of national government. And we have to extend the responsibility from national government to international government. So there is some role of UNPOG. Okay? A recent frontier technology expanded the scope of a problem in global scale. And SDGs are the global scale problems. It listed the problems created by frontier technology of mainly the third industrial revolution. And so the problem solving, I think, the UN, DESA, and UNPO should have a responsibility in solving the problem. And historically, we can find or classify the nations into two types. One is the winner nation, and the other one is the loser nation. And the winner nation is the nation successfully built innovative governance and the corresponding government for the new technology. And the loser nations are the nations that caught up in the old governance and the government, so that they cannot go into the future. Republic Korea, okay, we were loser at the first and second industrial revolution. And we were winner at the third industrial information society. So that we know that that's why we are here, okay? To why some nations be the winner and other nations the loser. Okay, and go back to the SDG. Mostly SDGs reveals the symptoms of a program that frontier technology of third wave made. It is a symptom. We have 17 goals, and the goal means program. Okay, and looking at the list, it comes to my mind. It's a symptom, not a prescription. Okay, so that the characteristic of information society may be the fundamental causes of the program. So understanding of the information society may help us. Okay. Okay, let me briefly review the characteristic of information society. We already know that cyberspace is the living space, and the shortened lifespan of information, knowledge, and product and service is the second one. Third one is winner-take-all phenomena, and the dilemma situation of policymakers, so that SNS and all the information flood make all policymakers in the dilemma situation. So if a policymaker is fallen into dilemma situation, there is a government failure. No decision, delay of a decision, and swing of a decision. It is a worldwide phenomenon, not to any specific country. And the problem is, right now we are living in the fourth industrial revolution, and the problem of this space inherited features of information society. So we inherit all the problems also. We also have the problem. All right, let's go forward to the fourth industrial revolution. What are the frontier technology? Okay, we know that artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things, big data, mobile, cloud computing, 3D printing, blockchain, etc., etc. And then we cannot list it all. Okay. And that new frontier technologies produce intelligent cyberspace, and where human and intelligent robot work together in the living space. So we may call the society as the intelligent information society. And the society, I named it, another name is a clonism society. It's a new society that where one person's pains or happiness becomes all other person's pains or happiness. So the new society is a society more empathy stressed. And let me go into further the characteristic of that intelligent information society. The AI is extending capacity of human body and the human intelligence. And the revolutionary change of human-machine relationship is forming. Especially, we have to focus on human-machine relationship. And the intelligent machine is rapidly replacing human jobs, as you know that. And crisis of the representative democracy prevails. And the source of national wealth is changed. This data becomes the source of national wealth. Okay, and and recently, after that President Trump inaugurated as the President of the United States, new programs added to that existing program. New nationalism began to dominate the globalism program. Conflict between market efficiency and democratic political governance is widening. and the crisis of global government are apparent. That is problem. Okay, so we have to recognize that. We have to understand it. The programs of SDGs of the third industrial revolution all inherited to the fourth industrial revolution. Okay, this is some kind of a conclusion that complicated and more advanced front technology result in more complex and difficult problems. Okay, it solves problem, but it also make problems. So front technology of the fourth wave create unprecedented difficult problems. It means that reflecting all those problems, I think we should modify the SDGs or add some list there. Okay, and problems that we are currently facing are more complex and more difficult to solve. So that there is one way, it is to develop a smart digital government. Smart digital government. That is the one way. The why smart? Okay, let us compare it. What is the dummy government? Dummy government is government that repeats the same mistake. And the dummy government is a government without problem-solving capability. And dummy government is inefficient government with low output with a big input. And government that something happened, rushed after some accident happened. And so the smart government is contrary to the dummy government. Smart government is the government with learning capability, and competent government, effective government, and government preparing in advance. So we build the smart government, okay, and we have built in the digital government form. So, for example, probably that the Korean delegate will explain you in detail, but that is some smart government content of Korea. It's a platform government. We have some aspect platform government, and the data government, problem-solving government, mobile and responsive government, and AI government, and all those. It's many various kind of diverse names. It means that the new smart data government cannot be named in one name. Okay, it is some kind of umbrella concept. It should include all those things. Okay. However, those smart data government may help us to solve the problems. However, even in that case, a lot road ahead. For the SDGs, in the fundamental governance change is needed. That is that we have to change our development paradigm from maximization GDP to maximization happiness. And as I watched the ranking of the e-government published by United Nations, that in Asian countries they are not the good in ranking. However, when we change our perspective from maximization GDP to maximization happiness, the ranking may be different. Okay, so there is no the best e-government in the world. The optimum e-government is that there exists, but there is no best. The best means we have one top criteria, and then mostly the criteria in the Western countries become the criteria. So I don't believe in that. Okay. And also we have many obstacles inherited from the third wave. This is the real problem: outdated governance, widening gap between reality and the law, and the governance failure of the National Assembly and the Congress. This is a worldwide phenomenon. The repulsion of interest group to government reform, and undesirable side effect of intelligent information society also prevail. As far as this kind of obstacles exist, we are in trouble. We are in trouble. Even though front technology are available and the front technology will be used for solving the problem, that cannot be utilized. And the problems are getting harder and harder these days because of the new front technology. And time permitted for solution is getting shorter and shorter. 2030, well, it's not long enough. And my final question is, can we solve and achieve two SDGs, the goals? And there is some problem of that. The problem must be solved by the creator. It means the ICT has created the problems of all those SDGs, so ICT have to solve the problems. However, technology alone cannot solve the problem. The future of SDGs depends on success of a new smart digital government based on the front technology of the fourth wave. Meanwhile, looking at the 17 SDG list of SDGs, that's too many. So because of the limited resources of the SDG, we have to focus on imminent critical problems in SDGs because of the limited fund things. So, and this is my final recommendation. For Sustainable Development Information Society, I strongly recommend UNPOG or UN to start discussion on the following topic immediately because the problems resulted from that front technology of that fourth wave. First, what is the desirable relationship between human and the most intelligent machine? Can we design the desirable relationship, human and machine? Oh, it's very difficult. Okay. And second, can we derive some desirable human-machine ethics? And also, we have to immediately focus on the impact of appearance of artificial general intelligence tool. The artificial general intelligence means it is the AI tool that can be used for every kind of areas or application areas. The AlphaGo is only the artificial special purpose intelligence, and we extended into the general purpose tool. Then that will give a great impact on human beings. And the third is a topic that we have to discuss is the possibility of granting legal personality status to intelligent AI machine. I personally recommend and think that legal personality status should be granted to intelligent AI machine that is replacing human works these days. If so, if we succeed, human can collect the text from the intelligent robot. Okay? And the revenue of the text, robot text, may solve the difficult problems of funding in our effort for reaching SDGs. Yeah, it's a real program, okay? So let's make some recommendation that okay, let's collect the text on intelligence robot. Okay, in summary, this is a conclusion. I believe in human group intelligence. Human intelligence with the help of the machine intelligence of the first wave from technology will solve a problem eventually, will solve a problem, and we will reach to the SDGs. In the journey, UNPO will play a great role. Thank you very much. 감사합니다.
Thank you very much, Professor Ong, for this excellent presentation and also for your recommendations and suggestions that I'm sure will provoke a lot of discussions around these 3 days. So now I would like to invite the next speaker, Mr. Oanzang Zhu, board member of the E-Government Committee of China. He will actually, in his presentation, will address 2 questions. How can digital government frontier technologies contribute to delivering essential public services and implementing the SDGs? And the second one is what strategies or measures should government take to bridge digital divide and avoid further marginalization of vulnerable groups? So, Mr. Zhu, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's my great honor to introduce and communicate some of my experience in extending the capability in healthcare in China. So it's a very specific area in public service, healthcare. And the project we have been undergoing for a couple of months is called LABEN. And the core idea is that by sharing the knowledge of the healthcare, we can extend our capacity for the public health service. So we know that the global distribution of the healthcare resource, especially the doctors, are very limited. And we know that every doctor can only contribute or serve a local area people. So their ability is not that transferable to a further distance. So therefore, we need to train more doctors. But the problem is that the training of the doctor takes ages, and that's not a replicable method to improve our capability in the healthcare area. And even worse is that the consequence of the lack of the knowledge and the lack of the doctor causes more damage to the patient. For instance, like even in America, the report says there are tens of thousands deaths that is caused by the preventable mistakes or errors in the healthcare service. So no mention the harm and the deaths in those developing countries, and especially in those rural areas. And when we talk about frontier technology, we talk about artificial intelligence, we talk about quantum computing, but there are far more fundamental problems in this area. For instance, the data silos. So when we talk about SDG, the technology problem for the SDG is always revealed by the scalability of the technology. So the information system can serve a hospital and can possibly serve a hospital group nowadays, but it cannot serve the hospitals of a city, no mention a hospital of a country. And that is caused by the data silo that is isolated among the hospitals. And the second is the lack of technology to computerize the knowledge. So it's very hard to replicate doctors, and we can't replicate the knowledge of the doctors, and we want to contribute more technology in that area. And the third is the lack of the economic environment to stimulate or to encourage the doctors or the participants of the healthcare to share their knowledge. We don't have that. So why they spend time and take the risk to share their knowledge? So for that, what we want to do is we want to develop a collaborative computing technology to exchange the data, to exchange the knowledge and the computing power without being constrained by space and time. And the second is to provide a well-developed economic system so that people are willing and encouraged to participate and to share their data and knowledge. And that is the project we call LABEN, which is a medical contract operating platform. And in LABEN, we do three things. The first one is the assetization of data, knowledge, and the computing power, which means that we make the data and knowledge as a unique assets of a person and the institutions so that they have the ownership and the control right of the assets. And the second is the computerized of the medical knowledge. As I will show you as an example, the doctors can create their knowledge and make it as a computer program without the need of actually a software engineer. And the third is the collaborative computing so that we can bridge the heterogeneous resources such as the data and the knowledge, and they can transfer across the world without the constraint of time and space. And in terms of the assetization of data, the key idea here is we split the ownership and the right of usage for the data. So that means that when you use the data, you can use the data, but the data is not actually copyable from anyone else. So that the data is under the control of the original owner of it. And the medical knowledge computerizations will develop from the cognitive computing technology. And as you can see on your right-hand side, that is breast cancer triple assessment protocol, which is written by the oncologist, the general surgeon, as well as the imaging specialist. So it's not written by us or by our software engineer, so that they can actually write their knowledge in a computerized way. And each of those tasks, as you can see, can call and retrieve the data and the resource from various organizations across the country and across the society. And for that, we create the collaborative computing, which basically means that we don't care about where the data is, where the server is, and where the knowledge is. And as you can see, if the data are distributed, the D, and the algorithm knowledge A, and the computing power P are distributed across the world, and we can call the function actually A by feeding the data D1 and D2 into the algorithm, and no matter where they are. And we guarantee that the data cannot be stolen and copied by the computing part. So that is what we call the collaborative computing. And by adding them up, we create this protocol stack called a medical contract operating platform, which is a 7-layer protocol, but it can be summarized into 3 layers. The bottom layer is what we call trusted exchange. So the data are connected across the world without the need of to know where the data is, and the protocol will deal with the transmission of the data. And the second layer is what we call smart contract market, so that people can create their knowledge and make it as a smart contract and put it on the market, pretty much like the Apple Store or the Android App Store, and people can download their knowledge and execute it and follow instruction to treat their patients. And on top of that, we have the application layer and the user layer, as I will show, as the 2 applications. The first application is what we call congenital heart disease application. And it's called a Chi Doctor, and it's aimed to care those congenital heart disease problems in China. And in China, there are 20 million newborns every year, and there are only 15,000 doctors that can make the correct diagnosis of congenital heart disease. So that is a huge scalability and SDG problem. And we created this hardware, software sort of solution to connect the ultrasound device so that people can view and judge the ultrasound images from anywhere in the world without the need of a computer data center. So someone will say this is just a telemedicine, but to create a telemedicine system takes months, if it's not years. And we managed to put this into 50 hospitals just in 2 months, because we do not need any data center and we do not need any large cloud computing servers. And we actually are connecting into more hospitals supported by the Ministry of Science and Technology of China. And we, by sharing the knowledge of the screening and the diagnosis, we retrieve the data and then to reapply it into an AI program to train a better model, so that become like a closed loop. So I will show you just a very short video.
Chi Doctor is the first D-app developed for a specific disease on Uniledger's MCOP, employed by obstetricians, pediatricians, and ultrasound doctors. Chi Doctor can provide every hospital with access to congenital heart disease diagnosis and treatment. It provides a new solution for the supply-side reform of the medical industry. With the professional hardware and software collaborative operating system, doctors just need to collect and upload images according to the requirements. Based on the strong computing power of MCOP, Chi Doctor can provide auxiliary diagnosis quickly. Time for analyzing medical images is saved and the misdiagnosis rate lowered. The screening of congenital heart disease thus can be optimized. With the visual development environment of smart contracts on MCOP, clinicians specialized in congenital heart disease can easily transform their medical knowledge to shareable contract. The highly diversified smart contracts model built by MCOP makes the compensated share of medical data of a specific disease become available. General practitioners spend less time studying CHD and acquire a higher diagnosis and treatment ability. And the business collaboration will be strengthened amongst different institutions. Chi Doctor has a unique data storage and process mode. Usable but invisible, and visible but non-copyable. Realized by MCOP's function featuring traceability, monitorability, and high security. MCOP also supports the development of health insurance and large cohort studies with lower cost and better efficiency. Moreover, multi-center business collaboration can be achieved. MCOP is going to support more DApps in the future to maximize the value of doctors' knowledge, to enable everyone to enjoy professional medical services, and to facilitate the balanced distribution of medical resources.
Okay, so now we have finished actually the first AI model, and it's being published on the American Society of the Cardiology, which is the top journal of the area, as a reference model for the Asian population. Another very short example I will share is actually an extended version of the Chi Doctor, which is called a Stroke Doctor. And in this project, we even collaborate more resources into the computing platform, which is wearable devices. So we use the mobile ECG, which is like a very short, small sticker on your chest, to monitor the 24-hour ECG waves of the heart, and also the ischemic preconditioning training, which is developed by the hospital in China. And those wearable devices provide the proactive healthcare. So we do not treat the people when the disease attack, but we detect the moment that the disease will detect and actually prevent the disease from happening. And that will give us a much better sustainability than just treating the very severe doctors. So I think that is by doing that, we can actually lower the threshold of learning the medical knowledge, and to reallocate the value generated by the medical knowledge to show the respect of creating the knowledge. And also, we can break the boundaries among the medical institutions. As you can see, the insurers, the device manufacturers and the hospitals, and they can all collaborate with each other without worrying about their resources being stolen. And we can achieve even a distribution of medical resources, as we see, like in those 50 hospitals, they are in big cities and also in the very rural areas and in the very small villages as well. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhu. And now I would like to give the floor to our next speaker, Mr. Chang Yi-Yung, Director, Department of ICT Platform and Service, Information Technology Planning Team, National Information Society Agency of the Republic of Korea. He has 3 questions to actually address in his presentation. How can digital government and frontier technologies be leveraged for achieving the SDGs, especially the SDGs 4, 8, 11, 13. They actually will be reviewed during the 2019 HLPF. And how can digital government provide a good platform for inclusion participation of citizens, especially the vulnerable groups? And the last one, how should government design and revise its digital government framework in line with the rise of frontier technologies and evolving demands of citizens of digital service? Mr. Yu, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is Chang Yi-Yun. It's nice to present today. In order to present within 10 minutes, I have to present right now. Just 10 minutes. The time is not enough today, right? Okay, I'd like to introduce and share the government policy. It's kind of a case of intelligent SOC activation strategy in public sector. Okay, as everybody knows, this is the objective of a 2030 agenda. I'd like to emphasize ICT technology is important enabling tools to support the transformation towards SDGs in order to provide a platform for decision makers, an opportunity, and strengthen policy governance to implement SDGs. And new opportunity, so communicate among people interactively, collectively, right? And by utilizing new emerging technologies such as AI and IoT, big data, and so on. Yeah, compared to this is a perspective of a Korea e-government background. The influence of the fourth industrial revolution will revolutionize the social structure. The keyword is connection, convergence, intelligence, and predictability. To establish ICT system, data-based public institutions for SDGs. To build a platform based on citizen participation who can interact. So based on those backgrounds, we made a kind of a direction way, the government-led platform in the SOC field based on the emerging by utilizing ACT the technology like AI, IoT, cloud, and so on. Before we go, I look at the left the side, the axis is the ICT industry paradigm, and bottom of right, SOC project paradigm. So the Korea government tried to make from the mechanization to computerization, informatization, intelligence. The final goal is intelligence. And from the view of SOC project paradigm, from the physical infrastructure to ICT, smart, eventually national convergence and linkage of infrastructure, the field of SOC field. This is a step of national infrastructure, intelligence, informatization. We think the Korea government's level is between control and monitoring the level, the current national infrastructure. Intelligent direction is from the monitoring, control, optimization, autonomy. This slide, just to refer to this slide, just a comparison of existing and intelligent national infrastructure. The goal is reacting, proactive, experience-based, and future data-based. So we made a vision, goal, strategy like this. Intelligence of national infrastructure through promotion of SOC-ICT convergence, and with three goals: secure infrastructure, sustainable, efficient, with some strategy. Let me introduce more detail from the next slide. Okay, this is executive strategy modeling. For intelligent SOC-ICT fusion based building model, basically this is as-is model. To excavate intelligent SOC-ICT fusion model through database multi-government ministry cooperation. The previous stage only two parts to find out the appropriate SOC good intelligent project from the Ministry of Land and Transportation. The brown color left SOC related technology R&D from the Ministry of Land, and left SOC the project from the Ministry of Land as well. But now we added some steps. The yellow dotted line, intelligence SOC, lead model, and ISP for the informatization project, and pilot project. Those three factors from Ministry of ICT. And second strategy is strengthen multi-government the ministry cooperation system. It's not easy to collaborate different ministries in Korea. So we, to strengthen more capacity of e-government, we made a SOC-ICT Council steering committee like this, the breakdown 4 parts: policy division, business, technology, security. And third one is, of course, we made this policy supported by the law, Act of a National Area. And also, we make another relative relegation laws like this. And first one is in order to establish and operate the of SOC-IT Support Center, we try to make the more stronger SOC-IT Council operation and informatization plan system operation. And through those operations, we make a standardization, the survey conduct, SOC-IT field. This is like the future model. We try to make this model. It's a to-be model. Basically, the SOC-IT fusion platform is our government's goal. The support is the four components like this. The center of the circle, national multiple ministry large-scale intelligence SOC project database, and survey DB. We guess about 8,000 per year, and to maximize citizen participation, platform by so-called network effect, and informatization plan database. That's the fusion platform. And outside is technical infrastructure, AI network lab, cloud computing, cooperation network, and convergence. Basically, AI network lab is supported by Korean. It stands for Korea Research Network. It's a national network connected to world network. This slide more to introduce more the detail. Okay, time limit. So I'd like to emphasize the third one: maximize the citizen, the participating platform by network effect. That means network effect is that means new economic phenomena led by ICT technology innovation, such as Airbnb, Uber, like a business model. The model enhance the value of platform producers by strengthening each user feedback loop associated with the platform. Okay, this is, I mentioned before, this is fusion infrastructure, the technical infrastructure. The second one is the Cooperation Network Council between the different ministry, the land and the ICT, to build the SOC platform using network infrastructures. As I mentioned, the COREN, the research network system. And to build the SOC platform using cloud infrastructure. Through the large-scale analysis of SOC data in various fields and establish a smart SOC foundation. Okay, this is my last presentation. This is just an example, reference, how to make a SOC-IT conversion platform. So we made the practical model like this. As you know, the intelligent SOC top is there are the various the field of SOC, like traffic, tunnel, railway, bridge, and so on. By utilizing the ICT technology, AI, big data, cloud. So eventually we can get to go intelligent SOC integrated platform. So we made like a future, the strategy, like the right picture. Based on the center research AI-based response system, they called a knowledge-based AI algorithm system. Basically, that the algorithm supported and collected from the micro and macro data, the data from the building, from the drone, satellite, and radar, and so on. And on the other hand, the simulation, the technology development, the upper picture, and promote commercialization to prove the result of ICT infra and SOC infrastructure. Okay. The intelligent, the SOC technology development consists of two parts, as I mentioned, from the Ministry of Land, Ministry of ICT. So, if you look at the bottom picture, the brown color, the macro, micro, the technology data from the Ministry of Land, and white color is collected all of the data from the Ministry of ICT. And the middle of a box is joint research like a content. Okay, this is just a reference. Okay, this is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Young. Now I would like to invite our next speaker, Mr. Mushan Bilan, Deputy Secretary, Department of ICT, Minister of Post Communications and Information Technology of Bangladesh, to deliver a presentation. It will be actually Mr. Bilan will address some quick questions, particularly on good practices in Bangladesh. It will also highlight multi-stakeholder collaboration and lessons and challenges of digital government development in Bangladesh. Mr. Bilan, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Respected audience, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I want to present here how Digital Bangladesh can contribute to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Our journey started 1974 when Father of the Nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, declared, "Let us together create a world that can eradicate poverty and hunger, such and such." So we are very much dreamful from our Father of the Nation. Second one is very important. Our President, Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister, she told the Agenda 2030, SDG, is our collective journey to transform the world. One thing I want to mention here, the Digital Bangladesh started from 2008. It's not too far, 2008. And the philosophy of Digital Bangladesh, Vision 2021, is that Bangladesh considered as the middle income country by 2021 use of the ICT devices. That is the significant indicator, use of the ICT devices. That is the key point I mentioned it. Every people knows 17 goals, 169 targets, all are related to Bangladesh. Some goals are related to the national, some goals are related to the international. Collective. Every people can contribute here so that we can achieve the Sustainable Development Goals. Before Sustainable Development Goals, I want emphasis some MDGs because Bangladesh can tremendous successful for MDGs. And it's 189 nations, 21 targets, and 8 goals, which is established 2000 to 2015. And Bangladesh, remarkable progress in the areas of poverty reduction, reducing the prevalence of underweight children, encouraging enrollment of primary school, lowering of infant mortality rate, such and such. And so that it's a very, we feel honored, Bangladesh feel honored, successfully complete the MDGs. Bangladesh achieved 2 major awards from the United Nations. One, the reducing child mortality, another was the women empowerment. So that we can very happy with that. And our country, what is the strategy, what's the plan? Every people know about the 5 P of Sustainable Development Goals. But in our country, we are emphasizing use of the ICT devices, Digital Bangladesh. That's why e-government, e-services, and e-services include the private sector, civil society, and mass people. It is the main philosophy of our country government to ensuring the SDG with the use of the ICT devices. SDG and Bangladesh, especially Digital Bangladesh, earlier I told 2008, we declared Vision 2021. What is the 2021? We can dream. 90% of the services is in the digital services. 90% digital services should be considered as the use of the ICT devices. $500 million export and internet for everyone. three major pillars in our country, how we can achieve sustainable development goals. And 4 pillars of digital Bangladesh. What is this? E-governance establishment, human resource development, establishment connectivity for the grassroots level, and infrastructure development. If we can achieve 4 things, it should be very easier to achieve the sustainable development goals. And we can start the journey. For the mass people, provide e-services. And receiving e-services, 37 million. The small countries, 165 million people, but we receive 37 millions. E-services received 2,080. E-services under process 386. Government have recognized 2,008 e-services and upcoming 386. So we want to, every service should be considered as the e-services. And one thing I mentioned, we feel honored, the 40,000 offices under one national portal is the biggest web portal in all over the world. 40,000 web portal are connected in a one umbrella. And we started 2,500 offices to the electronics Northi. Electrically they serve, and more than 4,000 users of those offices they can use per day. Sustainable development goals and e-education. We are strongly recommend education is the backbone of everything, ensuring sustainable development goals, women empowerment, human resource development. It's a teacher's portal in our country. Every teachers are included here. They are cited their content every day, and more suitable and important content can taken easily for the students, and they can study in their room every day. One thing, it's a difference. I want to mention it. It's a Bengali, Akash Amar Pathshala. The sky is our schools. Then every students are included here, so that 50% reduce of the training. 50% reduce of the training here. And our target is by 2030, when SDG is completed, 20 million tent. 20 million person, they can use the sky in our schools. Poverty reduction, use of the ICT device. I just told 1991, we can 44% poverty, but nowadays it's 10. And by end of 2020, we targeted 9.3, and 2025, 4.8, and when completed our SDG, it's a zero hunger, poverty. And GDP, I just show, now this year, Bangladesh can achieve tremendous 7.86% GDP. And it's the mostly highest in Asian country. And we are very much hopeful about that. Our per capita income also increased. It's not too high, but 1,751. And 2015, it was only 1,236. And it's a very positive things. Use of the ICTs, ICT devices, Bangladesh move forward. And our strategies to ensure the sustainable development goals, government has set up a lot of things which we told us. Perspective plan government has given 2010 to 2021, which is covered SDG and MDGs. 7 5-year plans also, which is based on the SDGs. And innovative special initiative, implementation on priority basis, especially women empowerment, gender equality, and education. And Bangladesh is the country first ever in the world who she declared Delta Plan 2100. And services at the doorsteps, Bangladesh can work with so many people. And we have 5,280 UDC, Union Digital Center. Union means the last administrative tier of Bangladesh. The rural peoples are coming here to get their services, use of the ICT devices. And 50 lakh services delivery per month. So it's a very pleasant, and so many services provided in the UDC. And in our country, 160 million people. Mobile users, 140 million. So it's a tremendous achievement, I feel that. And 54% people of our country are use the internet. And we have national help desk 999. 3 services include here: ambulance services, fire services, and police services. You can call anywhere. And also another information and service center, 333. And that should be covered. Everything: pollution, disaster, early marriage, any other, so many things covered. Human resource development we targeted by 2021. I skipped this because short of time. Government work infrastructure development, ensuring the internet users in all over the country. And we established almost 8,000 special lab, computer lab, and all school and colleges covered this. We can set up the ICT park, techno park, as well as the government 28 and the private sector 13. We have 2 big data center 3 and data center 4, and cover the infrastructure, the grassroots level. We connect submarine cables line under InfoShortcut 3. And this is the targeted ICT related. You can see. One thing I mentioned, this vehicle is the ICT training for women. And the vehicle is coming rural areas. The women are coming here, get the ICT training for the 15 days, next 3 months, if she wanted. It's a tremendous things. All over the Bangladesh covered these kinds of mobile ICT training. We receiving a lot of prizes for the ICT sectors. And Digital Bangladesh, you can see the new frontier, as well as the women empowerment. Women are coming here. The school girls, they are the very less classes, but use of the ICT devices, as the tab, the women are calling the phone, so many positive history in our country. So many events, so that private and public sector are coming over here. We face some problems. We face some problems, especially resource of mobilization, financial resources, stakeholder engagement, data availability, localization of the SDGs, so many problems. We have some solution also: infrastructure development, renewable and affordable energy, skilled manpower, technology adoption, property policy, such and so. We strongly believe that, Bangladesh strongly believe that we have 160 million people, and 2 hands each other. Human chain can do everything. And if we are work together, still we are working, and if we can support for any other organization internationally, Bangladesh will be able to ensure the sustainable development, use of the ICT devices. Thank you very much for your patient hearing.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bilang, for your comprehensive presentation. I would like now to take maybe a couple of questions from the audience. Is there any question, comments? Yes, please. Do we have a microphone over there? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Inayat and I represent Korea School of Public Policy and Management. My question is from Professor An from Korea University. First of all, thank you very much for a very useful presentation. You gave a very interesting insight to give legal status to AIs. I wonder what would be the implication of giving such status to AIs on the technology transfer to poor countries from rich countries, given the gap between poor countries and developed countries. It might lead to a sort of ban on AI immigration to poor countries, which is very important for poor countries to get the technology that we're talking about. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your kind question. Okay, the reason that I'd like to recommend that to permit grant that legal personality status to intelligent machine is that robot is rapidly replacing human jobs, and for the same job, when people work, the government collect tax. When the robot work, they don't. Okay, And the trend is that the robot is taking the human job, okay? So it means that if the trend continue, that all the revenues will go to the owner of robot. That means that the capitalist. That is something that we have to avoid, because then that is something that we have to avoid, that the data is monopolized and some intelligent robot will be monopolized, and that is some worst scenario is possible. So in order to avoid to that situation and to achieve some desirable intelligent information society, we have to derive some more revolutionary thinking. And I think that there is no way that in this century, there is no way that we avoid my recommendation. We have to recognize and we have to grant legal personality status to intelligence machine so that we can correct it. Okay, that is not easy one, even in advanced country. And it's my view that United Nations may involved in it, and probably some portion of that robot tax will go to the developing country in order to solve some the AI divide. And so that's my hope. But in the individual national level, it is a limit. So I think that the United Nations should have a tackle all those things and should begin to discuss the way, that the possibility of the new way. That is my view. Thank you.
I'm sorry. I cannot take your question. Sorry, but we're really running behind time. Maybe later, because now we know that we have an announcement that the bus will leave at 6:15. So we still have another session. So thank you so much for the question Professor Oak's answers, and I would like just to maybe have a round of applause for all these distinguished panelists. And we just go now to the last part of the plenary session. That we'll have a panel discussion with 4 representatives of the schools of public administration. This part will specifically address what are the types of capacity that are rising, actually demands for public institutions to better respond to the rise of 4 industrial revolutions and effectively address the challenges while take full use of the potential of frontier technologies. I would like now to invite up to the stage our 4 distinguished panelists, Mr. Alex Brillante, President of the Asian Association for Public Administration, Mr. Dasho Karmachitim, Chairman of the Royal Civil Service Commission of Bhutan, Mrs. Maria Fe Mendoza, Dean of the National College of Public Administration and Governance of Philippines, and Mr. Aslam Alam, Rector, Bangladesh Public Administration Training Center. Thank you. So I think we can start our interactive discussion. So I have some questions. So my first question to you is what new competencies and skills are required in the public institution to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals, particularly with the fast and simultaneous proliferation of frontier technologies? So maybe I will ask Mr. Alam to reply. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We have had a very good session already, very thoughtful ideas and very useful experiences shared. You see, for capacity building of public administration system, in particularly developing countries. Because, you see, because of the digital divide, the requirements are quite different. You see, countries like Korea is now at the forefront of fourth industrial revolution. But as you have seen from presentations on Bangladesh, we are still trying to reap benefits out of third industrial revolution, nowhere near fourth one. Now, the required new competencies and skills. You see, in our country, we have to understand, not in Bangladesh, but this is to some extent applicable to the developing world, that literacy level is not enough. Basic literacy is not 100% in many countries, not in Bangladesh. About 1/4 of the population are barely educated. I mean, writing and reading and numerical skills. And digital literacy, it's too inadequate. Yes, people are using mobile phone, but mostly to receive calls and make a call, and just use of some social media app like Facebook, barely using internet, etc. Now, in most cases, focus is on hardware and software and less on humanware. And whenever a system is established, it is difficult to run, difficult to maintain, because of lack of trained manpower. Then information skills is a new requirement. We are living in an information age. So much information about, but so little are reliable. We cannot take granted whatever we read, whatever we see, whatever we hear in the digital world. So we have to be information literate, which information we can trust. But this focus is on information literacy, which suggests that we should be able to recognize information needs and what kind of information is required, and where we can get the information, and how we can interpret and analyze the information and use the information for decision making. Only then we can reap the benefit of all new technologies, otherwise not. And other issues are at the strategic or policy level. We need transformative leadership. Transformative leadership to go beyond boundaries, to take initiatives, to manage changes because of these technologies. Lots of changes have to be, lots of reform has to be initiated and implemented. We require transformative leadership and change management, and also to create enabling environment. And on behavioral side, on the part of bureaucrats, public officials, you see, proactiveness is required, and service orientation required, result orientation is required. So is integrity and inclusiveness. Bureaucrats are mostly process oriented, not result oriented. So this change of mindset is required. And only then benefits of all these digital government and frontier technologies can be achieved. Although it is very challenging for developing countries, but as you have seen the presentation from Bangladesh, we could not win in the first three revolution, but we are trying to catch up during the fourth one. Thank you very much.
Of course, thank you. You mentioned actually some capacity gaps, and I would like to ask, what are the major capacity gaps in civil service in your countries, and how to equip public administration to address the capacity gaps in leverage digital government and frontier technology? Maybe Mr. Mendoza, you want to like to address these questions? Thank you.
The Chinese presentation gave us a very amazing impact of technology to the health sector. So in terms of the capacity gap, the Philippines, although it's a texting capital, it is claiming that it is the texting capital of the world. There's still the digital divide, and there is about 40% of the people who do not have access to the internet. In addition, for those who have access to the internet, we have very slow broadband. So unlike Korea, you can easily download Netflix in just a second. It will take us 2 hours or more in the Philippines. In addition, our laws and practices have not caught up with technology, but we don't want to be labeled as Dumbo government, as Professor classified. We wanted to be a smart government, but the capacity to have more efficient practices and integrate traditional practices and not because the dichotomy of Professor on the Dumbo government and the smart government implies that the Dumbo government have outdated processes, systems, etc. So in terms of capacity gap, maybe we have to bridge and transit into a better or a smarter government. In addition, we have to capacitate also our civil servants to be more humane. The technology, as mentioned by Professor has been substituting and doing many of the work of the human beings. But the public servants cannot be substituted by robots and AI. And we hope that at the end of the day, it's the human being that is the one supervising the technology and not the other way around. So in terms of capacity gaps, those are, but basically, we also have a very static system. In the e-governance paradigm, there should be transiting from a static government to a engaging government. So we have to capacitate also our public servants to mine the data everywhere. Our government agencies and our different agencies in the public sector have been mandated to post online major information. But the public servants don't have the capacity to engage the citizens because the platform is basically static. There are no feedback or engaging mechanisms on real time. It will take time for people to answer email or queries. So there must be capacity building in terms of having infrastructure or a platform, a digital platform that will make public services delivered on real time. We have, as mentioned by the Chinese presenter or the Bangladesh presenter, also innovations on e-passport, birth certificates, etc. We have been doing that. In addition, we have e-services also, like the newborn screening, etc. But many innovations and discoveries have to be done and harnessed by the government and the public sector.
Thank you very much. Actually, on addressing capacity, what could be some innovative approach to address capacity development of public institutions by harnessing digital government frontier technology? So maybe Mr. Dasho Karma, you would like to reply? Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Let me frame my response in using the golden circle. Start with maybe why. I guess the idea is how do we harness technology to enhance governance? And when we talk about governance, it's about transparency and accountability. And I think we can all accept with social media and the spread of mobile that being a public service servant is now like being a fish in a glass bowl. So it has enhanced transparency, accountability, how to use it to enhance efficiency and effectiveness, doing more with less. And I think we saw some splendid examples, but for developing nations, a lot of the fourth frontier thing is really out of our reach. So we can look at best practice, but it's always about best fit that is a reality. And I think we see in Kenya this app called iCow. So apparently, animal husbandry can yield great returns if you just do certain things at certain times. And an app was created to just provide farmers that SMS message which says, now take your cow for the shots, and so on and so forth. And it increased yields by 30%. I think those are the types of things a lot of us low-ranking developing countries have to do with. And then, of course, there's this whole thing about access. It enhances access, which is always good for getting most out of development. And then we see the augmentation of our intelligence with AI, big data. Those are all real potentials to overcome some of what they call the bounded rationality. Public servants have to make big decisions, but they have limited intellectual capacity, usually in limited time and with limited information, they are supposed to make decisions. And hopefully a lot of technology can help address that. So I think the why is clearly very clear. But when it comes to how, it's really to do with capacity building. And of course, part of that is the capacity of infrastructure. But beyond that, about people itself, how to get more innovation and creativity in our public servants, how to enhance our IT abilities, how to get our systems integrated. A lot of us have legacy systems which reflect the silos we had, and we need to overcome those boundaries, probably have to destroy some of the legacy systems. So to do all this, what has Bhutan done? So let me share very briefly. First, we are doing simple things which we can afford. So first thing, we have moved the government to the Google platform. So for all our communication, everything, we use Google. So the good thing about doing things like this is like those people who are resistant to using mobile phones when it first came out. They would resist. They wanted the old telephones. But once they got mobile, they couldn't stop playing with it, and they realized so many things they could do. In the same way, by moving the whole bureaucracy to the Google platform, we're hoping that it can unleash new behaviors, new innovation, creativity. We also, earlier in my presentation by my colleague from Bhutan, mentioned about flagship projects. These are major projects that the government will focus on in the next 5 years. One is digital Bhutan. And the idea is to make everything digital by default. So we see a lot of promise there of optimizing use of technology to enhance good governance in Bhutan, to improve public service delivery, bring greater coherence into government action, and break down the silos and have a more whole-of-government approach. Another thing we have done is we have identified all the most commonly availed services by the citizens of Bhutan, and we have brought it online. And a lot of that required building capacities, changing mindset of public servants, but with strong political leadership, it is possible, and we have done that. And so in doing all this, if I were to point to one capacity building intervention that really helps, is giving public servants what is now referred to as design thinking. Design thinking is a systematic approach to problem solving, designing new programs, plans, which is by default co-creative, because you always place yourself in the shoes of the very people for whom you're designing solutions, which is very different from what we used to do in the past. And a lot of the solutions are about tapping what is available now, which is technology. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dashuk Karma. So we talk about changing mindset. Now I would like to ask, what kind of competencies and skills are needed to shape the mindset for actually to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals? Maybe Mr. Brillantes?
Thank you. Well, actually, I prepared the PowerPoint, but we don't have. Maybe just put the last slide. When we're talking about these things, I think one fundamental question we should ask, being in public administration, is really for whom? For whom are all these? And I think this was raised in the presentations earlier. For whom will it indeed improve? And we're talking about SDGs, poverty, etc. But we've seen that sometimes it can either bridge it can bridge the gap, or it can worsen the gap. I think that's the elephant in the room. No, that's why we talk about the importance of competition, cooperation, etc., etc. So for me, as development workers, we have to always ask, for whom is this? And that's a question that we've been asking for some time now. And the second one is, of course, how do we do this? I think a lot of opportunities for partnerships. We are in public administration. This morning, we were in the session for public administration schools. We cannot do it alone. We cannot and should not do it all alone. I think we have to continue these partnerships, not only with us, but with our communities. There's this paradigm of public administration where we talk about the importance of town and gown. Town and gown. The university, the academic institution, to be relevant, should work with the people in the community. Otherwise, we will simply remain in the ivory tower. We have to come down from our ivory tower. Town and gown. So the first one, I talk about the importance of for whom. Number two, we talk about the importance of partnerships. It's important, and that's very much relevant to your capacity building question. universities should get off their ivory tower. I'm not saying all of us are in the ivory tower, but we should get praxis, theory and practice, praxis. That is what we call in the theory as phronetic knowledge. And the third part, and along with this, is continuous capacity building. I was delighted this morning when I saw the framework raised by Dr. Adriana and Dr. Stephanie, and also Dr. Katrina, because to a certain extent, we haven't seen each other's framework, but it is a framework that we've been using for some time in the Philippines, and I've shared this also with the Asian Association of Public Administration. If you want to bring about change, if you want to bring about reform, you just don't rely on institutions. Sure, you can do institutions. That is what Dr. Stephanie mentioned earlier. We cannot just talk about changing institutions. On the one side, we have to change our mindsets, and that's what has continually come up in our discussions. Mindsets, paradigms, because that will change our behavior. Question, are we ready for that? Are we ready to change our mindsets? Or how do we change our mindsets? How do we change our behavior? Is it through training? Is it through immersion? Is it through working with people? But mindsets is very, very important. And perhaps beginning with our time and even the next generation. I think when one talks about sustainable development, we're not talking about ourselves. Capacity building, build the capacities of our children, the next generation. Because obviously, we will not be able to solve this right now. The next part, and this is what Dr. Katrina mentioned earlier, would be in terms of citizens' engagement. We cannot do it alone. Get the people involved. Citizens' engagement is very, very much key in all this, because many times we think as bureaucrats, as technocrats, we think we know it all alone. Definitely, that's part of the changing our mindsets. We have to work with the people, learn from them, and let them teach us rather than us always teaching them. And the final point, and that has come out in our many discussions even this morning, areas of capacity building, leadership. We talk about this morning about the transformative leadership. It's really phronetic leadership. It's really within the context of episteme, and also creation of knowledge, a practice of knowledge, but it's really practical wisdom within the context of knowledge creation, within the context of leadership. Leadership in the presentation of Bangladesh, in the presentation earlier today, we talk about the importance of political will. This is very, very important. So to end, my 3 points are really, for whom is it? We have to address that question honestly, frankly. Number 2, develop partnerships nationally, locally, within the context of what we say, co-opetition. We cooperate and we compete. Come on, when you saw all those slides here, we cooperate with each other, but very definitely, we also compete with each other. That's why you have all these rankings. That's why you talk about co-opetition. And another part is also globalization. We think global, yet act local. Very, very old paradigm, but it's still something that we should do within the context of our changing mindset. And finally, I did mention the importance of continuous capacity building, focusing not only on changing structures. That's not enough. We have to change our mindsets. How do we do it? We've talked about that. We have to work on our leadership. And finally, we cannot do it alone. Let the people learn from the people. It sounds so romantic, but it is so true. Learn from them. That's what citizen engagement is all about. Towards, and as I said, a common vision. This is a paradigm I've used for the longest time. Common vision of our SDGs that will really tie us all together. Thank you very much.
Wow. What a great session, I'm actually honored to have moderated this session. I think now our session has come to an end. I just want to maybe read some key points. Actually, I took copious notes from this session of this afternoon. I want to just maybe wrap up, and then we will all leave for our dinner. So frontier technologies, innovative technology, change the world in a very irreversible way. They can break boundaries among medical institutions in countries, improve the quality of service, but they can also pose many challenges. Addressing the challenges of the fourth industrial revolution needs building a smart digital government. Smart digital governance can act as an enabling tool for SDGs implementation, including delivering quality public services and participatory governance. Strong leadership and political commitment are important for setting a digital strategy and advancing digital government while taking note of the digital and social exclusion due to digital divide. Indeed, despite some developing gains and investment technologies in several countries, the government divide and digital divide countries continue to persist. Government needs to work in collaboration with citizens, private sector, and other stakeholders to improve the digital government policies and practices and better respond to the emerging trends in digital government. Developing digital skills of public officials is critical. It's important to enhance capacity of public servants and develop the skills and the knowledge to implement the SDGs, but also it's very important to change the mindset. By bridging and linking focus and clear leadership vision with the right mindset, the 2030 Agenda implementation can actually effectively achieve organizational goals and instill values of professionalism, ethics, integrity, while also empower citizens, including the most vulnerable in their local communities. So this is my actually summary of the session. I want to just thank all our distinguished panelists, maybe a big round of applause to all of them. Thank you so much. And I think we are closed this session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to take this opportunity to again thank the moderator, our distinguished speakers, for such a wonderful job done. And to our wonderful and distinguished speakers, I hope we found, and even including our participants, we found this session very interactive and informative. Thank you very much for the great interest and participation, and we do appreciate your invaluable contributions today and the contribution to such a successful first day. Please kindly take note of this announcement. The following is about the dinner, the welcome dinner tonight. The dinner is hosted by the Incheon Metropolitan City Government, and I'm happy to inform you that the UN Under-Secretary General, Mr. Liu Jingmin, will also join the dinner with us tonight. The venue is at the Fiesta Buffet, and it takes about 10 minutes by car or by bus. Transportation is already arranged. We will leave this building latest by 6:30, so kindly take note of the time. It's at 6:30. Our colleague EJ, she's waving at us, she'll be leading you to the bus. So let's make it a point to be at the bus at 6:30, and let's move together to the place and come back together, or come back to our various hotels. What is happening is that the bus will be bringing participants to these various hotels, so take note. Holiday Inn, the bus will be making a stopover at Holiday Inn, Orakai Hotel, Sheraton Hotel, and Orakai, Sheraton, Holiday Inn, and Ramada. Central Park Hotel, and possibly this building, the G Tower, sorry. So kindly take note of that. And the other information is that tomorrow's session is the high-level session. That should have been today, but there was a swap. So according to our agenda, tomorrow's session begins at 9, but the registration will start at 8 a.m. prompt. And the registration will be on this floor, not on the ground floor. So kindly take note, and let's meet together again. So I would like to again thank you very much, and let's congratulate ourselves for such a wonderful day together. Thank you very much.